A breakthrough in the murders of 2 missing children, years after parents' emotional pleas to the public to help find them. 6-year-old Isabel Celis and 13-year-old Maribel Gonzales.
Just takes over your thoughts, your mind, your heart.
While law enforcement continued to search for clues.
We're hoping that someone that has that little bit of information that's going to crack the case comes forward.
A crack in the cases. A suspect now arrested for the murders of the 2 girls.
36-year-old Christopher Matthew Clements was indicted on multiple felony charges.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Valerie Cavazos. KGUN has learned how the case was cracked. Based on reliable information, we were told the location of Isabel's remains came from a credible tip to the FBI. Then Tucson police released information that the FBI had been contacted by Clements and had information about Celis's disappearance, and both agencies followed up. We will walk you through a timeline of major revelations in both cases that we know of from police. Plus, the families of both girls not able to go on camera today, still processing the indictment. But we revisit some of the interviews we've done with the parents and a look at each young girl's life. And we have team coverage today. 9 on your sides. Natalie Tarangeli is live in the neighborhood where Isabel Celis was kidnapped from her home, and she'll have more on how neighbors are reacting 6 years after Celis went missing. But first, we begin with 9 on your side's Craig Smith. The indictment and arrest helps close a wound that opened when the 2 girls disappeared 6 and 4 years ago. Craig Smith has more on what fell into place to let police make the arrest.
It has been a long, lingering mystery who stole away and stole the life of 13-year-old Maribel Gonzales, and who did the same to 6-year-old Isabel Celis. Now authorities say one man was kidnapper and killer of both.
Christopher Clements was actually at liberty for the murder of Isabel Celis for a bit longer than she was alive.
Christopher Matthew Clements was already locked up in Maricopa County on unrelated charges when Tucson police arrested and charged him there. Tucson Police Chief Christopher Magna says in 2017, the FBI told police Clements had information about Isabel Celis. They found her remains near Avra Valley and Trico Roads, very near where the remains of Maribel Gonzales were found in 2014. To avoid compromising the case, no one will say what convinced them Clements had killed both of the girls. But they went out of their way to praise detectives who never let the case go cold.
Their tireless work has made it possible to achieve this indictment.
They never gave up. They doggedly pursued this to bring justice to this family and closure to this case.
Charges against Clements include 14 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor for obscene photos of children. It's not clear if any of the photos are of the 2 murdered girls. He was convicted of a sex crime in the Portland, Oregon area as well. Now, if found guilty of even one of the first-degree murder charges, he could face up to life in prison. Craig Smith, KGUN 9, on your side.
A judge did set a bond for Clements, but he'll have to come up with $2 million in cash to get out of jail pending trial. His court appearance is September 24th. And we want to take you through the years, starting with Isabel Celis when she went missing. She was kidnapped from her home through her bedroom window on April 21st in 2012. Thousands of leads led to nothing. On June 3rd, 2014, Maribel Gonzales was kidnapped while walking to a friend's home. A few days later, her body was found near Avra Valley and North Trico Road. In early 2017, local FBI agents were told Christopher Clements could possibly have information on the disappearance of Isabel Celis. Then in March of 2017, after meeting with Clements on March 3rd, the remains of Celis were found in the same area as Maribel's body. And yesterday afternoon, Christopher Clements was indicted on 22 felony charges. For the families of Isabel Celis, it's been 6 years since their daughter's disappearance. Their neighbors also waiting to learn what happened to Celis. 9 on your side's Natalie Tarangeli joins us live near the home where Celis was kidnapped near Broadway and Craycroft with their reactions. Natalie.
That's right, Valerie. Neighbors I spoke to in this area used to see Isabel Celis and her family on this street and at the park nearby. They say today's announcement brings some sort of relief for them, but not quite closure. Now, Tucson police say Christopher Clements is being charged for the murder of Celis. Neighbors remember the first few days after she went missing. They say it was an extensive neighborhood search to find her. Some say they remember the fear they felt for other children living in the area.
We were scared. My roommate got an alarm system hooked up almost, I think, within a week or two after that, just because we were nervous, having a little girl living in the home, of course, made us all paranoid. Everyone in the neighborhood, I think, was pretty nervous, especially people who had children in the home.
And then every anniversary, the reminder, but nobody had to remind us. The news agencies didn't have to remind us. We know what happened and when it happened. We just didn't know who did it.
Over the years, Tucson police have received thousands of leads on what happened to Celis. The community received an update when her remains were found last year in March, and now this arrest is giving them some sort of peace of mind. Now stay with KGUN 9 News at 10 for the very latest on this. We'll continue to update you on the cases of Isabel Celis and Maribel Gonzales, as well as the charges filed against Christopher Clements. And of course, we'll keep you updated on our social media pages and on our website, KGUN9.com. For now, we're on the east side. Natalie Tarangioli, KGUN 9 on your side.
All right, thank you, Natalie. KGUN 9 has also uncovered court documents that show Tucson police had Christopher Matthews on the radar back in October 2007. Clements was picked up and convicted for failing to register as a sex offender after relocating from Oregon, where he was convicted as a sex offender at the age of 16. And Clements has appealed those convictions. We will continue our coverage of this major development in both cases when we come back. A closer look at how this all started with the disappearance of Isabel Celis. Plus, we revisit the last time her parents spoke about their missing daughter. And 2 years later, the murder of Maribel Gonzales. What her mother is telling KGUN 9 today about the indictment in her daughter's murder. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
And I'm really pleased to be able to say that Pima County prosecutors and all of law enforcement never gave up the hunt for the killer of these two little girls.
And that was Pima County Prosecutor Barbara Lawal. Multiple federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies working for the last 6 years to bring in the man they believe killed Isabel Celis and Maribel Gonzales. KGUN 9 has spoken exclusively to the Isabel Celis family through the years. Our last conversation with the family was 3 years ago. I spoke with Rebecca and Sergio Celis at their home.
The background: 6-year-old Isabel Celis is discovered missing from her bedroom. Her father, Sergio Celis, calls 911 Saturday morning, reporting her missing. The search went on for days, weeks, then years went by. The family invited KGUN 9 into their home in 2015 to talk about the investigation they feel was botched from the beginning. Sergio's frustrations coming out during our interview.
There was a purpose. She should have been found within the first 24 hours. Instead of wasting 3 days on us. Having us down there for over 12 hours apiece, separating us, doing everything they possibly could to make our lives, what, that much worse? We just lost our little girl.
March 30th, 2017. Investigators reveal they found her remains.
Unfortunately, the results of this DNA analysis did confirm that the remains were those of Isabel Celis. Now, although this confirmation may bring some degree of closure, of course it also ends the hope of bringing Isabel home safely to her family.
At the time, the family did release a statement thanking the community for all the support through the years.
And 9 on your side did reach out to Isabel Celis' parents. We are waiting for a response from the family on this latest development. 2 years after Isabel went missing, 13-year-old Maribel Gonzales disappears as well. When we come back, what the mother of Maribel is saying today about the indictment. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
I woke up this morning with a big smile on my face. but a tragic smile at the same time. I woke up very proud to be a part of this community, but at the same time very sad that we'd all meet under these circumstances.
Pima County Sheriff Mark Napier, you heard him describe the emotions behind law enforcement agencies today. 2 girls murdered, Isabel Celis and Maribel Gonzales. Their families finally coming another step closer to closure after an indictment has been made in the murder of both young girls. Maribel Gonzales' family waiting 4 years for answers in her death. We spoke with her mother back when her daughter's case was still unsolved. And we spoke with Maribel herself just months before she disappeared in 2014. 9 on your side's Stella Inger takes us back to where Maribel's story begins.
Maribel Gonzales' story starts 6 months before she went missing. Her mother, Valerie Kalanji, was the victim of a brutal 2014 New Year's attack in which 2 other people were killed. We spoke with Maribel about the attack on her mother just months after it happened and just months before she would go missing herself.
I love her. I'm just happy that she's alive. It feels good to have people support my mom.
On June 3rd of 2014, Maribel left the apartment where she lived with her mother to walk to a friend's house. When her mother woke up later that night, Maribel still was not home, unusual for her daughter. 3 days later, officials found Maribel's body in the desert, 35 miles away from her home. Kalanji spoke to us just last year about the case, at that point still unsolved. She tells us she remembers seeing her daughter's body for the first time while watching the news.
I put the news on, and they said they found a body with a tattoo, little tattoo. And I saw the tattoo, and I just basically fell to the floor and screaming, and I didn't want to believe it.
And that was Stella Inger reporting. Carlos Herrera joins us now. And Carlos, you've covered this story. You spoke to Maribel's mother just before her remains were found, right?
Yeah, this was last year. I spoke with Valerie Kalanji, a very emotional story, hours long. I spoke with her early this morning as well. Very long conversation, also emotional, but she says she's not ready to talk to us on camera just yet. But she does give us this statement. You can see it on your screen now. I'm so happy for justice for my beautiful daughter and the Celis family. I know Maribel is up there dancing with joy and happy that this is all happening. My family and I are still struggling to digest this all. It's bittersweet, a lot of emotions, because this doesn't bring my daughter back. I just hope he pays for his evil actions. And again, she's very thankful for the Tucson law enforcement, the Pima County Sheriff's Department. She thanks especially Detective Flores from the PCSD for all his support for his family. And of course, to the media, who has also been a big part in this cold case.
And this is so hard for these families to process, especially when they just hear about every single development.
And I asked her about closure. She says closure isn't even close for her and for her family.
Yeah, it usually isn't. All right, thank you, Carlos. We'll continue our coverage on the indictment and the murders of 2 young girls when we come back. A look at some of the reaction pouring in from the Tucson community. You're watching KGUN on your side. The Tucson community is pouring out support for the families of these 2 young girls. We want you to join the conversation with us on this major development in the cases of Isabel Celis and Maribel Gonzales. And we'll take a look at some of the comments on our Facebook page. Take a look. Heather says, maybe the families can get some closure and peace. Just so sad. Let the people at them. Ann Clevenger's commented on a post about Isabel Celis saying, understand how unfair it was to be targeted. We love you. All of us on East 12th Street. That's the street of Celis's home. Yolanda says, so many unanswered questions. How did he meet or follow Isabel? How did he know which was her bedroom? How many girls missing he could have abducted in the past? I hope we find all the answers soon. Carrie Colvin had this to say, thank the Lord. These 2 girls were taken far too soon. This being on the news and him being in jail, I don't like the odds for him. Sadly, the girls had no odds in their favor either. And finally, Donna Lale says, I am so glad that they got the guy. Prayers for the families of the poor girls. May peace come to them. And we will continue to keep you updated with any developments on our Facebook page. And make sure you join the conversation here on Facebook. And you can also follow us on our other social media platforms like Twitter and Instagram. We'll have more when we come back. A recap of how the lives of these two young girls were taken so soon and the man accused of murdering them. You're watching KGUN on your side. As we close our show, a recap now. Two little girls went missing. Isabel Celis was taken from her bedroom window back in 2012, and Maribel Gonzales found dead in June of 2014. Both bodies found near Avra Valley and North Trico Road. And now, years later, a man has been indicted on multiple felony charges, including the murder of those two young girls. 9 News Side's Natalie Tarangioli is live now where this all began, outside the home where she was snatched. Natalie.
Valerie, as you mentioned, the murders of Isabel Celis and Maribel Gonzales are included in the many charges against 36-year-old Christopher Matthew Clements. He's facing 22 felonies, including first-degree murder, kidnapping, and sexual exploitation of a minor. We'll have much more information on this on KGUN 9 News at 10 and on our website, kgun9.com. Valerie, back to you.
All right, thank you. And tonight, we continue to remember the lives of Isabel Celis and Maribel Gonzales. We'll have more coverage tonight at 10. We leave you with images of these girls.